Hello and welcome to the new video. If this is your first time here, my name is Hannah and welcome to the first reading vlog of 2025. Today is my rest day and it's currently 8:30 in the morning, but I've been up since 5 o'clock because I'm doing early shifts all this week, so I kind of have to be nice and early so I don't get out of this pattern of getting up early. I hope you had a good Christmas. I hope you had a good start to 2025. I am I'm trying to be on the ball with my reading. There's few things that I need to tell you about. So I have finished reading a book for my self-distracting books video. That's already back on a trolley. I will be talking about these books specifically in the videos that we'll record for the series. That's the plan at least. Today I'm starting another book for that video as well, and I have this as an audiobook, so I was thinking I am going to sit down. I need to prepare an Etsy order. Someone ordered those frames that I used for scrapbooking or card making and stuff like that, so I have to cut them out. So I'm gonna sit down, put my headphones on, and I'm going to listen to this book while I cut the frames out. Also, I want to finish reading 6 Rooms. I started this book, I think, maybe on like the 31st of December or something like this. And I'm reading this for my horror bingo board. As a title has a number, I want to put this on my easy board. And in this book, we have a group of 8 strangers unrelated to each other, although there is 3 people that are part of one family: a mom, a dad, and a son. And they all kind of go to visit this house that from time to time opens its doors to visitors. They are greeted by this tall guy. Seems very, very stern, doesn't feel very welcoming. Like from the very beginning, he tells them off for wearing shoes and they have to get the shoes off and put those special slippers on their feet. And you know, there's a couple of like older ladies and they have problems removing the shoes because they have different back issues and stuff like that. So he basically kicks them out and he's very rude to them. And yeah, so he's like a very, very strange person. And they go in from room to room, visiting and looking at the artifacts that are stored in these rooms and stuff. When they go in this first room, they meet a man that is supposed to restore all the books that are in his house, and he's behaving a little bit weird. And so basically this tour group goes from room to room exploring the house, and different things happen. Also there's like few scenes with the book person. So yeah, if I was to rate it now, I don't know how, it wouldn't be a very high rating. I don't think, all this time I thought this book was a debut, and because it reads like it, but apparently it is not. Let's see what happens. I have about 60 pages left, so I think as soon as I've finished cutting out the frames, I am going to sit down and I'm going to finish reading this. I haven't got much left. There's literally like this much. 60 pages, so there should be about an hour of reading, and I'll finish reading that and I will come back and I'll tell you my thoughts on this book.
Just where he was needed, gleaming black as night, cloistered in injustice, dead in the eye of time. Nobody is losing, faces merge and change, but your face remains the same. Swallows will be here by dawn. When we're finally sober, they'll be gone. The trees will
just finished reading this book. If I had to describe this book in one word or express how I feel about this book in one word, it would be unimpressed. Because like the cover is absolutely stunning. I love the cover. And kind of, see, this is the back. So when you see this and you see this, you think this is going to be so spooky, this is going to be creepy, tense and all that good stuff. We've got ghosts, we've got haunted house, and there's none of that. There's ghosts and a haunted house, but I don't feel like there's any of that spookiness and creepiness and tension that I would expect from a ghost story. And when I finished reading this, I was actually shocked to realize that this is not a debut, because it definitely reads like a debut. It feels, the writing style feels a bit clunky, a bit disjointed. I don't know, even the idea of the flashbacks that the characters get in the story, I'm not sure if I like it. I know the story of the haunted house and what happened in the house had to be told in one way or another, but I just think the idea of having so many characters with so many flashbacks, I didn't like it. It was such a predictable story. Also, everything that happened, like the characters were rubbish. I literally didn't like any of the characters, maybe except those. There was two old ladies that were introduced in the beginning of the book. They were part of the tour, but I think I said that they had problems taking the shoes off and they got kicked out. And that one moment when the tour guide was like very rude to them, it was kind of entertaining. And I don't know, maybe I feel like these, after reading this book, I've come to realize that I think it was such a miss with excluding those two old ladies, because I believe they would bring so much to the group. They would bring so much character to the group because they were different, because they voiced their opinion, and because, like, you know, sometimes older people, they just don't care and they just tell you how it is. So I think it was a little bit of a miss kicking out those two characters, but you know, it's done. I think it's a shame. I wish this book, this story of this haunted house was told in a little bit more of a creative way. It was very, very simple, I think, very predictable. And like I said, I missed when you read a good ghost story, I feel like there should be that tension and creepiness and the feeling of dread. And this book didn't have any of that, to me at least. It's a bit of a shame. Never mind, it's something that I have read, so I will be getting rid of this book. I won't be keeping this book. It's probably gonna go with one of my unhauls that I'm gonna do this year. Overall, I would rate this book 2 stars, because yeah, to me it's that kind of a book that kind of exists. I've read it and it exists, and yeah, maybe someone will like it, maybe someone that hasn't read a lot of ghost stories and haunted house stories, maybe they would enjoy this one. Yeah, it's not a book for me. 2-star rating, but I will be using this book for my horror bingo board, and I will use this to fulfill the easy prompt for title has a number. So that's another one I can tick off. On my Kindle, I am reading The Voices in the Snow by Darcy Coates, and this is my first time reading anything from Darcy Coates, and OMG. Okay, so like this book, it literally has all my favorite things ever. Winter, tick. Isolated setting, tick. Scary house, tick. Creepy creatures, tick. I am constantly tensed reading this story. There's so much going on, but yeah, I will tell you more when I'll be reviewing this book. I just had to put it out there. It's one of the books that I'm reading for the horror bingo as well. So yeah, I'm loving this book so far, and I'm predicting a 5-star. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I hope nothing changes. Okay, so finishing 6 rooms, I have to pick my next book, and I think I will be reading Jonas Blood Ties. This is an absolute disgrace that I still haven't read this book. This book came out in September 2024 and we are in January 2025. And what do I call myself? I call myself your Nesbo's biggest fan. Hell no, it's so bad. Even my partner, Jason, he said to me the other